Welcome. So this set of lectures are regarding Moodle, which is a learning management software that a teacher can use, and it's a very valuable tool which helps a lot in communicating with the students, especially when we are out of the classroom. So using this interface we can upload, for example, course notes, course slides, we can upload assignments, we can actually take quizzes. The students can upload their assignments which can themselves be graded. We can have a discussion forum where we put up a fresh notice or we bring up some new topic that needs addressal which we couldn't do it in the classroom, and the students can respond to it. It can have a log of the most recent activities, it can keep warning the students about upcoming assignments. Basically it is a community, and it is a community which would be restricted to the students in your course, and it helps a lot to interact with the students when we are not in the classroom. So as a teacher I would show you what we can do with Moodle, and also what the students would probably see when they are interacting with Moodle. I will not be discussing as much as what an administrator can do. Normally the Moodle would have to be run on a server, and there would be an administrator who would actually start a course and enroll the teacher and students on it. The teacher would have, of course, far different capabilities. The teacher can enroll students and look at a lot about course administrations, hide and unhide things, and the students will see a few things regarding the assignments, regarding discussion forums, etc. So from a teacher's point of view I will show what you can do with Moodle, and I am not an expert at Moodle, but I will show you how it can be reasonably useful to someone. You can also hold office hours, for example. Office hours are something where you would normally meet students during a fixed time in your office, but in this case you can hold it sitting in your office and the students are in their hostel rooms, or they may be somewhere else too, and it is a live chat room that you can have. Similarly you can hold quizzes. The quizzes, you can set timings for it, you can set the number of attempts for it, you can have the quizzes in the classrooms if there is a good Wi-Fi connection, or if everyone has a computer, or the students can do in the luxury of their hostel rooms or wherever they are, they can take the quiz during the specified amount of time. So what I would do is try and start accessing my Moodle on the IIT Bombay website, and you will see the courses that I have already been enrolled into by the administrators, and in each course the interface would look slightly different depending on how we are managing. Some courses are lab courses, some courses are courses where I would upload a lot of assignments, some courses need a lot of discussion forums. So I will just log into my Moodle and you will understand how this is a reasonably easy thing to pick up, and hopefully all of you would start using this. So let me just go to the IIT Bombay Moodle site and start logging in. So this is the Moodle site which is kept by the IIT Bombay server, and you will see this is our latest version, and there is a link here to the Moodle versions which were available earlier in 2012, 2011 and 2009, and my older courses are all listed here. The current Moodle site has the latest courses that I was an instructor to, and you will realize that I will need to log in using my username. So that is my username now, and most sites on IIT Bombay websites are accessible using the LDAP password, which is common across the email server and the academic website as well as the Moodle website. They all use the LDAP server to authenticate. Now once I log in, immediately I can see the courses that I was an instructor to in the most recent 2 semesters. For example, I was an instructor to 4 sections of drawing which are listed here. Then I was an instructor on thermodynamics. I was an instructor on the heat transfer and metrology lab, and this is a common interface for the entire drawing course, which we were actually often using rather than the section wise interface. So these section wise interfaces, once I click in, would have only those students who are in that particular section. So if I had to interact only with them, then this would have been useful. However, we were interacting with them on a common interface, which is this one. I was also an instructor on some other labs which are here, and then these are courses that I was an instructor on in the previous semester, that is the computational methods in thermal and fluids engineering, as well as this other technology design course, where you would realize that I was an instructor with not too many permissions. So we will talk about permissions, what kind of permissions an instructor has once he or she logs in. So let me first take you to a course where I was the sole instructor, which is the thermodynamics minor course, and once I click on it, you will see what kind of interactions you can come up with. Now, though we will talk about this later, you will see that there are a few blocks here. There is a block here on the left for administration, there is a calendar block here, there is a block for search, there is a block for latest news, there is a block for upcoming events. This is especially useful for students. There is a block for navigation. Now you will notice that I have actually shifted these blocks if I show you some other course sites, and there is a block for recent activities. And in the middle you will realize that the course is available as a set of weeks. So this is the week from 4th to 10th January, then the next week, and so on, and in each of these I have uploaded what was happening in that week, for example on which day I was doing what. So I will take you through how to actually edit these things, and you will notice that I have put on handouts, I have put on exercise sheets, and similarly I will show you other places where I would have put on assignments. I will show you how to handle quizzes, and then normally if there are any announcements, I would use this block to add a new topic here and start a conversation, which means I will tell the students that there is an upcoming quiz and I expect them with a certain set of books or steam tables or calculators there, and I will put up the rules, I will mention whether it is open book or closed book. In general I will give a lot of instructions. Similarly, if there is something that needs to be done that I could not announce in class, I can just announce it here and it gets broadcast to the entire class. So how do we use each of these blocks, as well as how do we edit any of these information that is present here? So now let us look at a few things that you can do with Moodle. So let me get back to my interface again, and this is again my home in Moodle, where it is showing me the courses that I am an instructor on to. It shows it here too as well as here, and if I click on any course here, you will see that now in this course especially there was no activity because I did not use this interface, but what you can do is actually have a look at the participants. Okay, this is available to the instructor, and the instructor can actually check all the participants when they last logged in, and he can have an access to some of the logs that the students do. Similarly, I can always go back and to my home site here. So if I click here again, you will notice that the central section is what has been broken up into a set of different sections, and these sections actually have weeks written on them. Now this is not the only format that is available, and in fact you will realize that if I scroll down, the current week is highlighted. Our present semester is actually over, but this course was made to have weeks all the way up to 3rd July, that is nearly half the year. And now what I can do, or if an instructor wants to do anything with the whole site, the most important button in the administration section, which is this editing option. So once I turn this editing option on, you will realize that each of these sections now looks slightly bigger, and there is here now a button which is available to add information to this section. Similarly, there is a button here which is available to add some activity or resource, and there is a button here which allows you to hide that. Similarly, I can edit this whole section name. I need not have it as 4 January to 10 January. I can call it week 1, week 2, week 3 and so on, or some other name. In fact, if we go down now, because editing is on, we can edit the settings here, and you will realize that I can change many things. For example, I can change the course name itself. Right now it is proper, there is a name, a short name which has been given, a category has been given. This normally the administrator does. So the category for this course is Spring 2016, and all courses which run during this semester have been given this category. Now it has a particular ID number, there is a summary. Right now the summary is very short, but I can always add to it, and then I can add files here regarding the summary. I can actually drag and drop it from, let us say, your desktop or some other directory which you have opened. Now if I click here, some of the other options open up. For example, here now you see that we would have an option either to go in weekly format, which is what is right now, or we could have had an option to go in topics. So if a course has 3 or 4 main topics, then rather than weeks we would say we will cover only these 4 topics, and we are right now in topic 1, topic 2 and so on. In the other formats, normally there is just one page and you just need to go on filling up that page. So these two are the more important formats, the topic format and the weekly format, and we will stick with the weekly format right now. And you will see that half the year has been set up. There are 26 of these weeks that have been added. So we could have added maybe only 15 weeks, or if you had only 4 topics, you could have added 4 here. So you could have added the number of sections. You can always keep adding them, of course. Then there are some other options available. These we will talk about later, but especially you can allow file uploads on the size, and you can set an upload limit. There is something about guest access, which normally it is advisable not to allow guest access, it is a restricted community, and you can also rename roles. For example, we can call the teacher by some other name or the non-editing teacher by some other name. It depends on what kind of course you are running, and you would like to call a certain kind of person a certain kind of name depending on what kind of abilities that you have given them. So right now I will not change anything, it just to tell you what is going on. So this is regarding what you can do with the course settings itself, and rather than saving anything I will just cancel it. Now if I enter these sections, you will realize that I can now click here, and immediately I can change the section name. I can unclick this and add a section name here. I am not going to do that right now. Normally what happens is you write a summary of what has happened in that week, and if we have 2 or 3 lectures, I would normally go by the dates. For example, I would say that on 17th May 2016. Now of course this week is all wrong here, but please do not bother about it. I will say I taught the following in class, and I can list out what I had taught. And if you want to make certain things bold, well, you have the option here. You can take this part up, make it bold, you can italicize it, or you can have further options, make the size different, or you could underline something, strike through something, make it a subscript or a superscript. In general, you have many options. Similarly, if you want to add equations, well, there is a lot of option here. You can add equations using an equation editor, and you can also add in special symbols here. For example, I can use this, I can add all these symbols if I really needed to add them, and you will notice that I have used them when I am setting up assignments, especially in my numerical methods course. I will go there when I am talking about assignments, or we can add tables to this whole thing. If I really wanted to set up a table for something in this week, I can create a table. So there are many things that I can do, and normally I would just go ahead and add what I have done in that particular week. So I will take you to a particular course where I have actually done this. Let me go up to my dashboard here, and you will see that I have my courses spring, and this is the course that I was looking at. But let me go back to my courses, and I will see all of my courses here, and let me take you to my computational methods course, where I have filled in what I did in each week. So for example, in this week from 27th July to 2nd August, there were 2 lectures, and this is what I covered as initial part of what was going on. Similarly, you will realize that I have uploaded an assignment here, and this is what has come here, and I have uploaded an assignment for each of the weeks that follow. I have in between mentioned when the exam takes place, where the seating arrangement is to be obtained. Similarly, if there was a holiday on a particular lecture day, I have mentioned it, and so on. And finally, when I am going to show the end semester exam books. So these are various things that I have added. If I turn the editing on, then you will notice that I can actually change now. Now you will see that this button has appeared here, and I can actually change what is the content of this summary here. Let me cancel this now, and similarly if I go down here, you will realize that I can change the name of this assignment, or I can change even the language in this assignment. Right now I have written this in a crude fashion. I will show you another place where I have actually used an equation editor, and because this assignment is already over, it already tells me how many students were there in the class and how many of them have submitted. Now what I did was I did offline grading, that means I printed whatever they submitted, I printed offline and took a viva. Sometimes the grading can be done online itself, and then all of them would have been shown as graded here. It showed what the due date here was. So these are some of the things that I can do here on this site. Similarly, let me go to another site here, where in this drawing course you will notice that for each of the lectures, already right in the beginning all the lecture slides were put up. So especially if there are a lot of slides or a lot of handouts, you would normally put all of them here, and then whenever there is an assignment, for example in the drawing course there were various sheets. These sheets were uploaded by using, again you go turn the editing option on, and then you can actually add an activity or resource and add a file here if you want here. So this is, if I choose the file here, then you can actually go say add, and then it will ask you where to add it from. I will need to name the file, I will need to give a description, and then I will need to select from where the file is. Normally I create a PDF file and just upload it on this section here. So I can put an assignment here, I can put the course notes here, I can put the course slides here, and then I can write a summary for this week. These are various things that can be done using this site for these various sections. Similarly, as I told you already, we can already rename the sections and decide on the number of sections that we have. So this is what you can do with the central part of Moodle, and this is a reasonably good way of telling the students what happened in the week, and the kind of assignments that they are supposed to do, and if there were any lecture notes etc. that they can sit down and look during their off time in their hostel rooms. They can actually log on to this site and have a look at those course notes. So in this assignment of Moodle, we would look at how to add assignments. You can probably just add a file and ask students to submit in class, giving a particular deadline which you can announce using either the weekly format or using the discussion forum, or actually you can put up an assignment and ask students to submit online in that assignment mode. So I will just show you what is normally done. So let us go back to my Moodle site where I have logged in. So if you look at the drawing course, then you will see that these sheets are nothing but assignments, and if I just click on them, then it actually tells you what is going on. These are different people who have been asked to draw or sketch certain items and then just submit it. So this is just a list that has been provided for the students to sketch and bring to class. Now to load any of these, I would really need to turn the editing on. This is again, as I said, an important button here, and you will notice that once I do that, I can actually add material here to the week, and I can add an activity or resource. So if I am just adding a file, then I would just go here and say add a file here and then upload it. So I need to give a name to the file, describe the file, and just put it here. That is the simplest thing that I can do, and just tell the students that a file has been uploaded and they need to look at it and submit it appropriately during the class. So rather than this, especially if it is a computer based course, I will take you to another place. So let me go back to my dashboard. So my course is here, and let me take you to the computational methods course and turn the editing on again, and you will notice each of these assignments that I have added. Okay, this says assignment, and when I click, it actually tells you what is going on. So how do I add this assignment? Well, it's the same. I just go back here to this course, and you will see this add an activity or resource. So let me go to a week where there is no material available. So I will click on this, and then the very first button out here is for the assignment, and I will just say add. So now when I add assignment here, I can write an assignment name. Normally I have been giving a drab name like assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, but I could always say assignment using matrices, and then I can give a description here. Normally I write out the description here. So write a program which does the following, and I can actually describe the whole thing here, and you will notice that everything that you had for editing the summary is available here, that I can change the font size, I can make something bold or italicize it, I can use underlining, subscripts, I can use equations and so on. So I can of course display the description on the course page. If I need to do that, I need to click this button on. Normally I do not do that, I just allow the heading to be around, and once you click on the heading you can actually see the description. Now you will notice that it allows you submissions. The moment I start this whole thing, I have started the whole thing on today, which is 16th May, and it allows me submission starting now, but I can always change it. I will say allow submission starting, let us say 30th May, which is a Monday, okay, starting 9 a.m. So this is a 24-hour clock, so the time goes from 0 to 23:59, and then I can have a 7-day period in which they can submit it. So I will say I will allow the submissions up to 6th June. So this is what I can do. So they need to submit this during this time which is available to them to submit. So normally they would probably upload some file. So I am just setting the time here, and then what I will do is I will say what kind of submissions normally are allowed. So in most cases I want the submission to be file submissions, which means they will upload either a program file with the results. So they will upload different files. I can have how many files they upload. Now you will notice that you can allow 1, 2 or many files to be uploaded. My particular advice to my students is that they just upload one file where they put the program file and the results together and everything. They can just zip it up and add it, and we can set a maximum limit. This is a reasonably high number. Then in the submission settings we will need the students to do a few things. For example, we need them, once they have uploaded it, they must click a submit button, and I normally agree to it, and then we do not allow them to resubmit. Otherwise you can always allow the students to resubmit. You can allow group submissions here. In this section you can get students to group, and finally you can actually have a notification that comes to you or your TA whenever someone submits their assignment. So normally if I say notify graders about submissions, if I click this button on to yes, what will happen is as soon as someone uploads an assignment, the grader is sent a mail telling that a submission by so and so has been uploaded, and so on. And we can actually even grade the submissions online. I have not been doing this, but you can actually grade the submissions too online. So these are various things that you can do to allow people to submit during a certain period, and you make them put up a few files, you can have them graded, etc. So this flexibility is provided by the Moodle interface, and this is a very valuable way to communicate with students, especially if they have to upload program files, which is necessary in a computational course like the one I was doing. Similarly, we could have used it elsewhere too. For example, in the drawing course, if someone had to do a CAD drawing and upload a PDF file, we could have used the same interface to do it. So as long as some paper based submission was not needed, this is a very good method to allow students to submit their assignments, and it is a very useful tool. A small snippet on how to use discussion forums in Moodle. So let me again go back to my Moodle site, and let me choose a course which I have normally not used at all. So you will notice among the various blocks here that there are different blocks on the right side, including a search forum, a latest news forum, upcoming events, and recent activity. Now nothing has ever been done here because we use the other common site, but this is a discussion forum where I can add a new topic, and no new topic had been added up till now. So this is something where I can start and say quiz on Monday, quiz on Monday 24th, and then I can give a message which tells students all the things about the quiz, what they can expect, and then post it. Okay, and I can mail it just now and say post to the forum. Okay, and of course I won't press it now, otherwise this will go to all my students and they will be scared that there is a quiz after the course is over. But once I do this, the students can actually reply to it, and I will show you a place again in my discussion forum here where students keep replying. So let me go to my home, and you will see here that there had been a lot of activities, and I can look at different topics that I had put in. For example, I had mentioned when there is the showing of answer books, when there was a viva. I can look at all the older topics. So this is what I see, and you see whenever there is a reply, it tells you that there is a reply. So if I click on this, then it tells me the original message as well as what students have replied to it, and so on. So this is a reasonably valuable discussion forum that is available to you. So if there was something that you needed to announce to the entire community that is part of this course, you use this discussion forum and allow the students to reply to it, and you need not turn the editing on for this option. As you realize that I never turned the editing on, you can just start a new topic and give it to students, and the students can in turn respond to it and ask you regarding various doubts. The students can themselves initiate a discussion and you can reply to it, and so on. So this is a reasonably good tool to interact with students. Of course, you realize that it is not a real time tool, that is, I upload it, and what happens is once I say mail now, it actually is broadcast to the email addresses of each of the students, and once they receive it, sometimes I would just upload an assignment and then mail everyone that an assignment has been uploaded and they can actually log in and see the assignment. And sometimes I will mention some rules about the quiz and broadcast it, and if someone has a doubt, they reply back to my post and say what about such and such a matter, etc., and we can have a totally offline discussion here. This is unlike a chat where everything is real time, and again a chat is in the hands of the instructor, and you can open a chat session where you can have real time discussions. That is left for another session, but right now you can see that the discussion forum is a pretty useful tool to communicate with your students in this community. We will be looking at a few more small aspects of Moodle which would really help you. So one of the things that I will discuss in this small snippet is the chat session. Normally a lot of faculty members or TAs take an office hour in which they discuss problems with students. The same can be done totally without a face-to-face interaction using a chat session, and that is what I will just demonstrate in this small snippet here. So let me go to the Moodle site that I have opened, and the site is here now. I am experimenting in my course minor thermodynamics. Let me choose a week tomorrow. Now I can't edit anything, so I need to first turn the editing button on, as I have mentioned to you earlier. So let me turn editing on. I could have done that here too. Right on the top there is an editing button on, and now I go here. Now you see that I can add content here or add an activity or resource. Now let me add it in this current week which I am recording. So here is the chat session that I start, and I can give a few permissions here. So for example, let me name this as a test chat room, and I can give a description, and this is a chat room for discussing assignment 1, and I can display the course contents. So there are some things that I can do as far as the timing goes. So let me set the timing right now for whatever is the current time, and I could always have this chat session repeated. So for example, if you decide to hold office hours every Wednesday between 5 to 6, you can have a chat session every Wednesday 5 to 6 and store it. And there are other options. You can save the chat sessions so that people can view it later. So an entire chat session can be viewed, and that access you can give to everyone in that particular course. So what happens is, if a lot of problems are being discussed and if only selected few students turned up for that chat session, then later on the other students can actually access the chat session and see what was discussed. So this is a very valuable tool that can be around. So let me just save and return to the course, and you will see what you will get here. So here is the test chat room. So I just click on it, I will enter, and you will here see two buttons. So let me just click here to enter the chat now, and you see a separate window that opens, and what you want to type can actually be typed here. So let me just start here. I have enter the chat room. So you see the members who are in the chat room right here. So right now of course I am the only member, but as students, if you have announced the chat room, then students would come and access the chat room, and then someone may ask me that is problem so and so, I did not understand this. So he will put it in here. So rather than the discussion forum, which is more or less an offline or non-real time discussion, here this is a real time discussion. It's just that you are not face to face, so someone can ask a question. If there is a student A, he would have said, I did not understand the first law and from this aspect, and I could have replied something very fast here, and so on and so forth between various students. So this is what you can achieve here, and I think this is a very valuable tool, especially if you want to hold something like an office hour every week, or maybe a designated office hour. Sometimes what people do is that they, whenever an exam is announced, that is when students suddenly wake up and say we need more discussion, and maybe a day before the quiz you can actually have a look at what is going on. So you can have an hour's chat or 2 hours chat based on the most recent material that has been taught, and the students need not leave their hostel rooms if they have access there, and you need not leave your office if you have access there, and that is how you can have a chat session and clear doubts if necessary. I think that is the key thing that is about this chat. About quizzes, this is a very valuable tool that you can use to quiz students. You can actually hold the exam in the class if everyone has a laptop or a computer with access to the net, or you can actually hold such exams where students are in their hostel rooms. You can have various settings, that is, you can have the exam open during a certain period of time, and you can have other settings where once the student logs in, you can actually say that the test must be completed within half an hour of the attempt, and whatever is question has been answered, that will just be submitted once the time is up and the student can no longer go ahead. So there are many options that can be used. Sometimes you can be slightly lenient and allow more than one attempts, and this is specifically when you want the students to learn something very valuable. And what you do is that whenever the student answers something wrong, there is a place available during the question creation itself where you can give a feedback. So when the student answers something wrong, you can actually later on, during the after the attempt is over, you can give a feedback that you gave such and such a question an answer wrong, and this is what was expected, and probably you were thinking in this fashion. So this of course requires a lot of thought. If you evaluate a lot of answers given by students, you roughly would start figuring out how students go about answering and how probably they have not understood a particular topic. So you can arrange, let's say for example, a multiple choice question in such a way that there is one correct answers and the 3 wrong answers are something which most of the students would somehow give one way or the other if they had understood the whole problem wrong, and then you can give appropriate feedback. So I will just go ahead now and show you how to handle such a quiz. So what I will do is just open one small quiz here. I have come into the course, and you know that it is in the same section when I add an activity or resource. So let me add an activity or resource, and if you see there are so many options, I can come to quiz and add it. I will need to name the quiz something. So let us say this is quiz 2, because I have already added something called quiz 1, which I will show you in a brief amount of time, and this quiz tests some general concepts on second law, for example, and then I can have the description on the course page if I want. And then what I can do is I can go here and have the quiz timing change. So for example, I will say enable the opening of the quiz, and I can set it for a time which is much later than now. So I can say start the quiz on 30th May at around 5 or 9 a.m. here, and then I will say the quiz can remain open only for 12 hours. So on 30th May itself I will close it in the evening at 9 p.m. So this is the time that is given to the students to actually attempt the quiz wherever they are, and we will allow them only this time to attempt the quiz. So let me just mark it, then I can set a time limit, that is the moment a student opens the quiz he or she can get only, let us say, half an hour to attempt the quiz. So as soon as 30 minutes are up, whatever answers are there get submitted to the site automatically. So this is the option. When time expires, open attempts are submitted automatically. There are other options available here. If you click that, you can give some grace period. Sometimes if there are multiple attempts, then you can have some things regarding what happens in between. Let me skip the grading part right now, except that I need to tell you that I will, let us say, allow only one attempt at a time. You can allow unlimited attempts. Then in the layout, you can have the students actually get the questions in the same order that you gave them or randomly, and this is very useful if you are taking a classroom quiz with everyone sitting next to each other. So you can give 10 questions and everyone sees a random order in which the questions are being asked. And even in the question behavior, if there are options, you can shuffle within questions, so that is not a problem, and you can give feedback here. So this is the feedback that I was talking about. The feedback would be actually written down when we are feeding in the quiz. Right now I am only deciding the parameters of the quiz, but I can give deferred feedback, and there is something called as a deferred feedback with CBM, which is what is known as certainty based marking, and I will show you what that means. It actually tries to give more or less marks depending on how certain the student is, and this can affect how the student starts thinking about what he thinks or he or she thinks he has learned. So let me put this in, and then you can have review options. You can review immediately after the attempt. That means that if you have attempted the quiz, you can review whether you got the answers correctly or not, or you can review later. You can set that after the attempt is over, even when the quiz is still on for others, you can review it, or you can have a review after the quiz is closed for everyone. And if you doubt that the students may actually start talking to each other, you may click only this set of options and actually close out these sets of options. So this is what you can do. So let me leave it as it is right now, and then you need not bother about whether there is a user's pictures. Sometimes you can put in grades with 2 decimals, 1 decimal. This is something that I would not bother about. And there are on extra restrictions on attempt, that is in between attempts. If you want certain things, then let us say you require a password to come in. So this especially can be set for people, let us say for some reason they missed, or there is a genuine reason and they really need to attempt it again, then you can give a particular password to ensure that the attempt is made by that person. Sometimes you can put in a network address, that means only PCs on a certain network can take it. So for example, they are sitting in this lab, and that is only those PCs students can be taking the exams and so on. And similarly you can enforce delay between attempts, and finally you can give an overall feedback based on what kind of grade the student got. So if he got 90% correct, or if his grade is 90%, then you can say that the student was doing well and this is what was expected, and certain feedback which you think that needs to be given as an overall feedback, and then we can save and return to the course here. So now once I come to the quiz, I can edit its settings if I want. So which is what is shown here. Let me not do that, or I can now cancel and go to the quiz itself. This is the quiz. So you see that this is what is written about the quiz right now. I need to edit it. Once I edit, you will realize here that I can add questions now, and I can add a new question, or I can add a question from a question bank, or I can add a random question. So if I say add a new question, you see that it gives me many options. Okay, the options are, a calculated answer with multi-choice, a calculated simple answer, embedded answers, essay type questions, match the following, multiple choice, numerical, random short answers, true false, and various other descriptions. So what I will do is that I will, instead of adding the question here, I can actually add it from a question bank which I create. So what I will do is I will show you a standard question bank. In fact, I will add questions to the question bank, and from there, once it's adding a question here is the same as adding a question in a question bank, the procedure that is. Okay, and once you add questions, a lot of questions to the question bank, you can actually choose from the question bank and see what is, choose, let's say 10 questions from the question bank and go ahead. So I will show you a question bank that I have already made, and then we will have a look at how to add the questions to the quiz and then go ahead. So what I will do is I will take this activity up in the next snippet, and we will see a typical question bank that I have created. So in the last snippet I had just discussed creating a quiz and also talked about the question bank. So what I will do is I will go and show you how the question bank would look like. So this is the question bank. So let me first tell you how I arrived here. Let me click on the dashboard to my course, and you would see that as an administrator, if you will see that there is a question bank which is available. So if I click it, these are 4 questions that I have already added, and you can always create a new question, and you will realize that you will get those same options that I talked about in the last snippet regarding what kind of questions that can exist. So let me cancel this and let me show you. I have added 4 questions here. I can edit any of them. See, if I bring the cursor to this button, you can edit it. You can duplicate the question in case you are giving a similar question and just want to modify certain things. Okay. Similarly, you can preview the question. How does it look like if I save it, and then I can even delete it, of course. Let me actually edit a question and tell you what a question would look like. So I would think that somehow these are kind of the standard questions that I would look at. This is what is the simple numerical kind of question. So let me just edit it, and if you add the question, this is what you would have seen. I need to give a question name, and I can give the question text. I have just kept a simple thing like 2 plus 2. Okay, and then I need to give an answer, and if I really think that there needs to be a tolerance band, I can give it in this place where there is an error, and I can say this carries 100% of the marks if you get it correct. Okay, and you can also have unit handling. So for example, if you are calculating a force and you need to give Newton, one of the ways I do quizzes is I keep it reasonably simple, and I give the units myself, and I say write the answer in Newton or write the answer in kilonewton. So that way only a number has to be given, otherwise you can use this and even expect a unit, and this is what you can do with the unit. So you can have joules, kilojoules, a multiplier, and so on. And then of course you can, if you allow multiple trials, then for each incorrect trial you can give a penalty mark if you want. So this is only if you are allowing multiple trials for the same question, that if a person answers something, he or she, they will get a negative mark for that incorrect try, and then you can try again, and so on. So this is what you need to do. So let me just, you can preview it here too, but I will just save the question here and come back to the question bank main page. So I will say save changes, and I will just say I need to preview that question. So let me do it here, and this is what the question would look like, and you can actually test over many things here. For example, I write 4 and I can submit and finish, and it will tell me that it is correct, and that is what it shows. And I can, as an editor, I can actually start all over again. I can fill in some other answer. Let me say I fill in 7 and I submit and finish, and of course this time it will tell me wrong, and it gives me a feedback that the correct answer is 4. This is the default feedback, but I can always add feedback whatever I want. Let me start over again, and you can actually make it fill the correct answers just by saying fill in the correct responses. So you can do this with literally every question that is there, and here there is a deferred feedback that we had chosen by default, and we can change these options as and when required. Now let me see, here you can see that this is a multiple choice question, and if I bring the cursor here, it is a multiple choice question. Let me edit it, and this is what you would have seen if you had chosen a multiple choice question example. You would have needed to fill in a question name and write the text. So for example, I have used a thermodynamics question here, which of the following is an outcome of the second law, and I could have either only one answer correct or multiple answer correct, and I would need to give the choices. So choice 1 is something, and here is where you write the feedback. If someone chooses this, and if this is the incorrect answer, you need to tell why this is incorrect, or this is incorrect and why student was probably thinking that this is a correct answer. Okay, if there are more than one correct answers, I can actually allot 50% of the grades to the 2 correct answers. So only if both are chosen you get 100%. There are other options available which are not here right now, where it's all or none. That is, unless you choose all the correct answers, you won't get the full grade. That means if there are 2 correct answers and you choose only one of them, you will still get 0. That is because you need to mark all of the correct answers. So you can do that. So this is how you put in, and if you want to have more choices, you can choose blanks and add far more choices than you want. Okay, and this is what you will get, and then you can have a combined feedback at the end of the whole exercise. That means for the entire question you can give your answer is correct or your answer is partially correct. So these are the default answers or the responses which have already been put in by Moodle, but you can change it overall. You can, of course, I said that if you allow multiple trials, you can give penalties and so on. So you save this, and I will just get back to the question. Now this is a match the type of question where I have, let me edit it, and this is, I give the question name certain things, like let's say it's species here, and the question text is what species do each of the following belong to, and then you come here and I say okay, question 1 is just simple, whether cat is a mammal or a reptile or an amphibian. So I say cat, the answer is mammal, dog, the answer is a mammal, frog is amphibious, crow belongs to the birds, the cobra is a reptile, and so on. And I can add far more questions here. Again, I can have combined feedbacks, multiple trials, but I can preview and see what is going on. So this is how it looks like. I need to choose. You realize that now things have been shuffled here. This is not the order in which I had filled in things, but it doesn't matter. And you see dog, it gives 4 options. It's wise enough to figure out that mammal has been entered 3 times. So it just says either you choose mammal, amphibian, aves, or reptile. So I can choose here mammal. Let me choose a wrong answer here. Let me choose a wrong answer here. Let me choose a wrong answer here, and then a right answer and a right answer. And then if I say submit and finish, then it will tell me what is correct and what is wrong, and actually give me what the correct answer is. So I can have here, of course it is telling me what the feedback by telling me what the correct and wrong answers are, but I can have this feedback given after the quiz is closed, so that students do not discuss this. So now if I start all over again, you realize that now it has switched the entire order here. So that is because I chose shuffling within a question when I initially made the quiz, or when I initially made this question bank. And see, this is how you can see it. Now this is one of the things you can of course choose. Let me cancel it now and let me show you another example of what is going on. So this is what is called as a calculated type, and let me see here. Now actually I kept it reasonably simple. I have written the formula itself here. What I will say is I will change this. I will say what is the area of a rectangle with sides A and B. So you notice that I have put A and B in curly braces. So these are what are called as wild cards here, and you need to give a formula for this. So here of course earlier I had done an addition. Let me put the area as a multiplication, and if there is a tolerance, you can change it if you want. You say everyone should know what a multiplication should be. So what this does is that by default now A and B, it will change these numbers. Moodle will do it itself and it will change these numbers, and a lot of people when they are attempting, everyone sees a different set of numbers. So if you want to test a particular kind of formulae, whether the student knows it or not, then you can give such a type of question. Every time a new attempt is made, a different set of variables are put in, or the values of the variables are different, and you will get a different answer which Moodle knows. So this part about feedback and unit handling, units we have already done. So let me say save and continue editing. So now what I did was I just saved it, and now it asks me that what do I do with wildcard A and B. So I will need to use, let us say, some kind of a data set. Let me say I need a fresh data set, okay, and then there are other options available here. I will just say do not synchronize, because this synchronization is based on, let us say there is a set of questions and one question follows the other, then there is some synchronization, let us say if needed, if the current question is based on data set which is used in a past question, and that is why there is a certain amount of synchronization needed. Let me just say next page, and now it says I need to fill in the values. So for example, it says for wildcard A it has chosen 8.3 with minimum and maximum. I can choose this. Wildcard B, okay, and it tells you exactly what has been done here, 8.3 multiplied by 7.2, and this is the answer. And then this is what I must do. So I will say I will add this item, okay, and then I can continue. It gives me a new set of values between these limits. I can add this item and so on, and I create a lot of sets. So you see I created set 1, set 2 and so on, and it can create, randomly it will choose within whatever limits. Here it has set limits 1 and 10, but you can set limits to 1 and 100, and you can have far more values. I say I do not even want decimal places now, because let me not have 3.1 and so on, no decimal places, so that I will say I need a separate, so I add this item, and now it has given me 29 and 8, I add that and so on. So I have a lot of such sets, and then I just say I will save this and I will preview. So what is so it has given me 12 and 10. So you can fill in the correct answer, it will show you what is going on, okay, submit and finish. So of course if you want, you can start all over again. It will give you now the same set of this. Let me close the preview and start a new preview. Okay, so 5 and 86. So between 1 and 100, these are choices that I need to choose, and you have different answers that can be possible, because you have chosen that between 1 and 100 A and B can lie, and you can fill in whatever you want. Let me see, it's 100 or 1000, and I say submit and finish, and of course this does not match the correct answer, so it will tell you things are wrong. So this is how you can go ahead and save answers, and if I want, I can add new questions, and you see you can add true and false, you can have calculated with multiple choice, and if you are expecting descriptive answers you can have essays and so on. So let me cancel this and let me actually go to a quiz that I have already created. So I had created quiz 1. So this is the quiz, and I had used those 4 questions that I had already shown you, and it showed me that the quiz is already over. So let me go and edit it so that I can make it available to me right now. Okay, edit the setting, and I will just say I will change the time so that I will change the end time for closing the quiz, and time limit I still set at 10. Say save and return to the course so that I can take this quiz right now. This is what I have. So now it says that I have time of 10 minutes to, and I have only one attempt, and I preview this quiz. So it says I can start the attempt here. So let me fill in wrong answers, and now you see that it is giving me this certainty. So if I really don't know how to multiply, but still I seem to be very confident, let me say that I am very confident that this answer is correct. Okay, and now I will choose everything wrong here still. This is amphibious, this is mammal, and this is amphibian, and I will say I am very confident about this. And here let me choose a wrong answer again, and I will say I am very confident about this, and I will say 2 plus 2 is 10, and I will say I am very confident about this. So if I click this, I can, answers have been saved, I can say submit all and finish, and you see that it will give me a feedback now. Now it will tell me, because I was overconfident and that too all on the wrong answers, what it actually does is it starts giving me negative marks. So ideally, if your answers are wrong, there are 4 questions, I would have got 0 and 4, which is the mark should have been 0 and 4, and grade out of 10 would have been just scaled. So for example, if I had got 1 on 4, it would have been 2.5 on 10. If I had got 2 on 4, it would have been 5 on 10. So this grade is just a scaled version of these marks, but you notice that I seem to have got minus 24 here. This is because if I give a wrong answer and I chose a very high confidence level, then it actually starts giving me a lot of negative marks, and if I am very confident about a correct answer, it actually multiplies. I think it gives you 4 times the marks, and if you have very low confidence, that is the least, you choose C1, and if you give a right answer it gives you 1 mark, if you give a wrong answer it gives you 0. So the least confident would behave as if it was a normal quiz, whereas if you are very strongly confident, okay, and if you give a wrong answer you will actually be penalized heavily for it, and if you exactly know what you know, then you will be given extra mark. So this is a method to test whether you really know what you know, or you think, or you are pretty confident about things that you think you know, but they are all wrong, and this gives you a reasonably good idea, this kind of a CBM measure. So I hope you got an understanding of what kind of questions can be set. You can set the timings, you can set the limit that the student, or the number of attempts that the student can take the exam. You can set a time limit once he starts taking the exam. You can even test the student's confidence, and if you want the students to learn really, then maybe you can allow a lot of attempts with good feedback, and maybe you can, even if you realize that they are collaborating with each other, if the initial quizzes can always be in such a fashion where there are enough calculations to be done, enough understanding to be had, and they can collaborate, their learning increases, and whenever you want really good quizzes which will be marked for higher grades, then you can have it in a classroom environment using the same facility. Everyone has a laptop or a computer connected to Moodle, and then they can do it individually. The questions can be shuffled, the choices can be shuffled, and so on, and you can really use the Moodle interface very well to hold a quiz. So I hope you realize how good this facility is that Moodle provides. So this is the thermodynamics course, and you see that some things here, if you see how these things here are arranged, that will look different from my other courses. So for example, if I needed to go to my home, not everyone else's courses, and if I click on something else, you will see that the blocks which I mentioned are actually different here. You can have different blocks here. So what you really can do is actually change the theme of the page. So there are many themes available, and you can actually go and change a theme, but what you can do is actually add blocks that you want. So for if you want to do any changes, of course you need to turn editing on, okay, and once you turn editing on, you see that you start getting more options, and one of them is add a block. So for example, I can add a calendar, okay, and that will ensure that a calendar gets added, and this is what has happened. Now if I come to any block after turning editing on, you will see I can do many things. If I bring the cursor here, you can see it says I can move it, or I can take other actions, and I can do what is called as docking. That means if I click it, it actually goes here and doesn't appear here. Only if I come here, it will show me what is happening. So I can click it and say undock, and it will come back onto this screen, but I can just dock everyone here and dock everyone on this side. So this entire page is now available to, and everyone else is docked here. So I can actually undock all of this now, and it will go back to its original place. And I can actually move things around. For example, I can take this and say I would prefer it to be on the right side. So I managed to move the administration and the calendar on the right side here. So I can move around anything that I would like and change the appearance here. As I told you in the previous edition, that you can change sections, the middle sections to week format or the topic format. You can add many kinds of resources. For example, if you go to the resources, you will see that you can add URLs, you can add web pages, you can add video content, and apart from making the page look like a week format or a topic format, you can actually make it look like some kind of a social media page, like a Facebook page. And there are a vast amount of videos out there which will tell you what you can do. I mean, many resources are available to make the page as interactive as possible and give as much information as possible. So for example, you can provide a link to a video which is outside, and as long as it's open source, it's available there. You can have good pictures and make it far more attractive rather than the bland week-wise sections that we have here. So you can make many changes here. If you go to YouTube, you will see a reasonable amount of videos telling you exactly what to do, people telling you how they are using Moodle to enhance learning. You can go to the original demo.moodle.net to actually see documentation on Moodles. You can have dummy Moodle sites which you can play around with. You can create your own courses, and so this gives you a lot of options to play around with Moodle and figure out what is the best way to communicate with students. So it was not just, now you realize it's not just about offline communication outside class, but you can make it so much more interactive with chat sessions, with videos, with pictures, and extra information, and hopefully students would realize that this is a very good learning platform, and as much data or as much information as possible can be uploaded on this site so that it is very useful to students. So I hope with these set of lectures you have actually got a small gist of what Moodle can do, and you could use it to the fullest extent to communicate with your students. Thank you very much.